Om Namah Shivaya, Asinist Fire here on the Way of Dharma. Now, before we continue, I'd like to welcome all of you who are new, and I'd like to welcome those of you who are also returning. This is the Way of Dharma. We talk about spiritual topics from the Western Hemisphere, which is known as esotericism from the Western Hemisphere. We also talk about Hinduism and the Oriental spiritual systems, also including African practices of voodoo, occult, and witchcraft. So for today, I want to talk to you about a few certain things that I've noticed in African spirituality, or rather in African society. Without wasting much of your time, let us commence this video. Guru Brahma, Guru Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwaraha, Guru Sakshat Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Please do not forget to subscribe. Please do not forget to like. So today we are talking about what is common in African societies. I've noticed that Africans, they like witchcraft a lot. They like witchcraft a lot, to a point whereby it's amazing how can such a species of people exist, basically. And I'm not going to exclude other races, because other races do actually perform witchcraft, but I'm speaking about what I know now. Wizards and witches are among us each and every day. They use different techniques to actually spy and pry their eyes into our life, basically. Today I'm going to talk about one of those techniques, or rather, few of those techniques. Africans use pigeons to spy and monitor your life. Africans use rats, mice, and rodents to spy and monitor your life. They use wall geckos, which I might have mentioned as lizards in my previous video. That's what I wanted to say, wall geckos. Africans, they also can use your ancestors, the spirits of your ancestors, to spy and monitor your life. Now let's address this situation of your ancestors. Your ancestors, when they die, they obviously go to certain realms, basically, depending on their works on earth, whether or not they were spiritual. If they were spiritual, they can attain a higher living in the afterlife. So most of our ancestors have no spiritual practice whatsoever. So when they die, automatically they lack energy. They don't have a light body, a strong astral body. So they become prey to certain other spirits. They also become prey to wizards and witches. So these wizards and witches, because now they can't penetrate you in any other form, they use your ancestors, because now your ancestors are in your auric field, are in your protection. So they use those that are in your circles to actually spy on you, because when that ancestor comes, the other ancestors will allow him or her to pass through, because they are your ancestor. So they'll come to your house, they'll monitor, you'll feel a presence basically. You'll feel that there's something watching you, someone watching you. That's how they use it. So that's why it's important to do works for your ancestors, because they get manipulated and used by wizards and witches and other spirits also. They use geckos. How do they use geckos? They use certain herbs after attaining certain geckos and do certain rituals to actually spy on you. Whether or not they project their consciousness into the gecko, I don't know. I don't think they are that advanced to do so. But however, what I know, they use certain herbs to actually control and possess the animal, basically. So when it comes, the knowledge might come to them through a black mirror, might come to them through visions and intuition, basically. The more you use this technique, you actually become more efficient in it. So you get to recognize what the messages are, you get to decode what the messages are. Another form of spying is that of pigeons. Pigeons, for a long time, have been used, or rather birds have been used as a spying tool or as a spying animal, due to the fact that they can fly over long distances, due to the fact that they are inaccessible to most of us who are on the ground. So what they do, a witch or a wizard might drink certain drugs, or rather certain herbs, that will shapeshift their consciousness into that of a pigeon, and then it shapeshifts into the pigeon, and then they can fly and spy on your life, basically. That's how they can do that, basically. They also use rats, which is the most common. Rats that you can see that are disrespectful, that won't run away when you appear. Rats that are constantly there. Rats that can be chased away in any other form. Whether you call the pest control, you realize that after a few months, they are back again. Rats that are constantly getting into your house, and then certain items get lost. That can be attributed to the rats who are being used by the witches and wizards. Now, there's a very powerful theory that I like to think about, which is from Efe, who's at Afro Scientific Spirituality, who most of you may have seen from my previous videos with him. He speaks of the forest. There's an ancient tradition, ancient African tradition, whereby spirits of wickedness and evil were being banished into a forest, an abominable forest, basically. So what happens with these spirits? They get banished into that forest and they can't incarnate back into society. So they would barricade, or rather they would discard and live further away from that forest. So what happens is this. Most people in the ancient times used to wander about because of certain influences. They would wander near certain sites that were abominable. So curses would be placed upon them. In another form of curses would be possession, spirit possession. So what happens is that they possess these individuals and they are able to reincarnate back into society. So when they reincarnate back into society, obviously they are conscious. They have a mission that they want to pursue and perpetuate. What is that mission? Destruction. That mission is destruction of all humanity and all benevolence. So that's what happens when you see some of these people. So fast forward, the white people came. When they came, they built churches, they built institutions on some of these abominable forests because they saw it as free land, basically. And some of the lands that were being given away, the white people were actually tricked into accepting that land, not knowing what was behind the forest being discarded, basically. So they would get such spirits incarnating back into humanity and wreaking havoc. Nowadays, our townships that we live in, we don't know the vastu, or the soul of the environment in which we live. What's the background behind it? Because an environment also has a soul and a spirit of its own and an energy of its own. So when you go to a certain place, there's certain spiritual frequencies. So these townships that we live in, most of them, like now, where I live, it used to be a wetland. So the white people, when they built Soweto, they knew about these things. So this being a wet place, obviously, we'd attribute it to a swamp. We'd attribute it to a place where there's quicksand, basically. And that place would be of a low vibrational frequency. So living here automatically, without doing anything, your frequency is low, basically. And then what happens? These spirits that we were speaking about, they have incarnated almost in every family. So there's wizards and witches almost everywhere in our township, basically. We have some over there next door. But unfortunately for them, I'm here now, and they've been dying like flies, basically. Dying like flies. So these things, I got to experience them just now when I'm experiencing this spiritual path and spiritual journey. I'm experiencing such things as the spy rats, spy pigeons. There was a point, and I just remembered this today, early in the morning. There was a point whereby I used to have pigeons waking me up early in the morning. Maybe it was my ancestors waking me up, because when you sleep past a certain time early in the morning through into the day, it's another whole vibrational frequency. Maybe it was them. But ever since I'm practicing spirituality, those pigeons are not doing that anymore. They used to make a noise, a loud noise, to a point whereby I used to ask myself whether these things are pigeons or rats. Anyway, we don't speak about that. Some of you people may come to this channel and see me speak about these topics. Some of you may feel offended about how I speak about these topics, because most of you would expect that I only post about Dharma. Spirituality is one, and it's the same everywhere, basically. There's witchcraft also in India. You understand? That's why immediately when you speak about Tantra, they think that you speak about witchcraft, because that's what they think. They attribute Tantra to the witches and the wizards. And the witches and the wizards are something else entirely. You see, when you are a Sangoma, spiritually on this plane or on this path, you have a journey to heal. You have a journey to enlighten yourself. You have a journey to empower, to better yourself and your family and your lineage of ancestors. When you are a shaman, you also have a certain journey. But all these journeys are for the better, greater good, basically. So when you are a Sanatani, one who practices Dharma, either in the right-hand path or in the left-hand path of Tantra, you seek to enlighten yourself, basically. You are just using different frequencies, which are thought to be either left or right, Tamasic or Sattvic. But what I think that it's all the same. Obviously, we live in a plane of duality. Behind those paths, it's the same energy, but when they trickle down to this vibration, they become different, but the essence is the same. So when you hear people speak about Tantra, we are not talking about witches, wizards, and sorcerers. The sorcerers are these spirits that I'm talking about. These spirits that are evil beyond comprehension. They get incarnated into families, basically. and we mistaken them for family because we think they are human. They are not human because of the way they conduct themselves. Humanity is flawed, has many flaws basically, because it is emotional, it is merciful, and has all these good characteristics. Some of these spirits are actually ruling us in this world. Ancient spirits, very, very powerful ancient spirits, wreaking havoc upon humanity. So this is what I wanted to speak about, guys, before wasting your time. I wanted this to be just under 10 minutes, but now it's over 15 minutes. This is what I wanted to address. You may ask how I know about this. Yes, to answer your question, how I might know about this. I have a background before actually going into Sanatana Dharma, into Hinduism. I have a background, a short background practice of magic basically. The second answer would be that I live among these people and I know about these people because I see them. So that's how I know about them. This is to warn you, some of you who might not know about this aspect of life, basically. This aspect of life, this is to warn you, to make you aware of certain things that are happening, especially in African communities. And I'm sorry, if we don't change our ways, there's no future for us. There's no future for us. Let's not get led into their ways. They are ancient evil spirits. They get incarnated as some of us. They are not us. So let's not be like those evil people that you might see. Those spirits that wreak havoc. Don't be like them. Seek righteousness, seek dharma to raise your vibrational frequency. Om Namah Shivaya, Asenest Fire, here on the way of dharma. Please make sure that you do subscribe. Please make sure that you do like and share this with your loved ones to warn them about these practices of sorcerers and witches and wizards. Please subscribe. For more information about mantra sadhana, activating mantras, and performing Homam fire rituals, make sure that you do email me at arsenest.fya@gmail.com. It's arsenest.fire@gmail.com. arsenest.fya@gmail.com. Thank you.